Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Ngayon pong mga sunod-sunod na mga linggo ay ipinagdiriwang natin ang tinatawag sa liturhiya na Solemnities of the Lord. So, pagkatapos po ng Pentecostes, ngayon ay Solemnity of the Most Blessed Trinity, banal na Santatlo, tapos susundan ng Solemnity of the Body and Blood of the Lord, tapos Solemnity of the Sacred Heart. They are all called solemnities of the Lord because we talk about a God per se, a God in se, not about God, but about God for who He is, for Himself, and a God for us. So, kung ating bibigyan po ng focus ang dogma, ay hindi po yun ang punto palagay ko ng sunod-sunod na kapistahan na may kinalaman sa hiwaga ng ating pananampalataya tungkol sa Diyos. Kung hindi, anong kahulugan yan para sa buhay natin ngayon? Ibig sabihin ho, ito ay hindi academic enterprise. This is not just a dogmatic proclamation. This is an acceptance of the truth about who God is for you and me. And that makes God eminently practical. A God for us, a God in action, a God in passion, a God who suffers, a God who rejoices, a God who saves, a God who is related to you and me. It is very true that when we try to establish a friendly relationship with any of our fellow human beings, our questions do not border on questions that have to do with the about that person. Vital statistics, ano bang height niya? 5'3". Mataba ba siya? Payat? Ay naku, ang taba. Hindi natin tinatanong yan. When we relate to a potential friend or a potential lover or a potential wife or husband, we do not ask questions about ano ba ang blood sugar level niya, ano ang kanyang cholesterol level, ano ang kanyang yung gout, uric acid score. We do not ask one another because of those things because they have nothing to do with who we are. They have to do with about us physically. But who we are physically is not who we are as human persons, relational. And therefore, when we talk about God, you can focus on pag-usapan natin ng hiwaga ng Ama, ng Anak, at ng Espiritu Santo. You may know about God, but if you're not related to a God in passion, a God of passion, a God of victory, a God who suffers together with you, a God who cries together with us in our pain, then your knowledge about God will lead you nowhere. Pang ano lang yan, pang katisismo. At sa contest, best in religion, several years ago when I was rector in Mandaluyong, the best in religion was not even a Catholic. So I thought to myself, what good is it? He knew all there was to know about God. He can rattle off facts from the Catholic Catechism, but he was not in love with God. He was not a Catholic. He was not even a Christian. So anong katuturan na alam natin ang tungkol sa Diyos, pero wala siyang kinalaman sa buhay natin? Ito po ang punto ko ngayong araw na ito. Bakit ho? Because knowing about God is not the same as knowing God. And today, the liturgy tells us, and the focus of the liturgy is not for you to know more about Him, more than you already know. The focus of the liturgy is knowing God personally, relationally. So this God is a God of mystery? Yes. This God is a God of majesty? Yes. But knowing God, do you know Him as a God of wonders? Have you ever felt in your life that He did a miracle for you? If you cannot recount a time or a moment when you felt God really present in your life, even for a few fleeting moments, then I would like to say, baliwala yung alam mo sa religion. Hindi tunay, hindi patunay, hindi pa makatotohanan ang Diyos para sa iyo. A God of wonders, a God in action. The tradition of Holy Scriptures tells us who God is, and it's not about a God of mysteries. It's a God in action, a God who was creator, a God who is redeemer. Pinadala niya kanyang bugtong na anak. At ngayon, after Pentecost, we know Him as God the Sanctifier. Ibinuhos niya ang kanyang banal na Espiritu upang ihatid tayo sa kaganapan ng katotohanan. By the way Filipino radio talks about kaganapan is ungrammatical and also not Tagalog. Ang kanilang ibig sabihin ng kaganapan ay yung mga nagaganap, yung mga nangyayari. Ang kaganapan ay perfection. Walang mga kaganapan. There is only one kaganapan. One truth, one perfection, one reality, and there is only one who is really ganap. At hindi siya kaganapan na nangyayari araw-araw. He is kaganapan because He is all perfect, all loving, all relating. He is God Father, He is God Son, He is God Spirit, Creator, Redeemer, Sanctifier, a God in relationships, a God of relationships, a God of relations, Father, Son, and Spirit. Knowing God is not the same as knowing the vital statistics of your wife. It's growing every year, by the way, like me, like many of us. After we get past 45, then your intake of carbs will have to be toned down because you know that it embeds itself in the adipose tissues in the wrong places. So our vital statistics change every year. Knowing God's vital statistics will not get you anywhere. But knowing God as a person who is Father, Son, and Spirit will lift you up. And when you know God for who He is and who He is for you in relation to you, then you realize we do have a lot in common with God. And what are these? We all long for unity. We all long for oneness. We all long to embrace somebody that we love. We all long to be patted on the back when we do good. At hindi pagkalatan ng fake news ng mga marites at parites. Gumawa ka na ng mabuti, ikaw pa masama. This is anti-Trinitarian. When you talk ill about your brother, your sister, your neighbor, and you invent stories about them as marites or parites or whatever, you are not being Trinitarian. You don't know God. You may know all the vital statistics of God, but if you don't desire union, if you hate other people because they don't appear like you, they don't look like you, hindi sila maputi, hindi matangkad, pandak, pango, maitim, ulikba ang tawag ng mga Batanggenyo at Caviteño. Ayaw natin ng mga ulikba, di ba? Kaya number 1 na tayo sa pagbili ng skin whitening products. Tayo tsaka Indonesia, number 1 and number 2. Kaya ang basura sa koridor na 3 beses hinahakot ng Bureau of Tourism na sinasala ng isla ng koridor ay una, Jollibee wrappers. Ikalawa, skin whitening products wrappers. At of course, kasama na dyan ang Starbucks. At yung lahat ng mga plastic at ang wrapper ng Lazada. Pag umorder ka sa Lazada, nakabalot sa plastic, inilagay sa isa pang plastic, tapos inilagay sa kahon, halagang 200 pesos. Plastic, kahon, at may bubble wrap. Pagdating sa'yo, naka-bubble wrap. Yung halagang 200 pesos, ang halaga sa mundo ay napakahigit pa sa 200 piso. We all desire for unity. We all desire to be one. We all desire to be considered in our rightful place under the sun. sa Turkey, in one port, if you go for a cruise and you leave one of the ports in Turkey, you'll be surprised to find Tagalog signs. Bawal kunin ang silya dito. Sa Turkey, may Tagalog signs. Bawal kunin ang silya dito. Bakit? Sino bang kumukuha nun? Mga Pinoy. Sa Abu Dhabi, sa airport, may mga signs. Bawal magnakaw dito. Naiintindihan ba yun ng mga Amerikano? Hindi. Para kanino yun? Pinoy. Bakit? Kapag I've traveled quite a bit and I thank God for it. But many years ago, when I was traveling from, I forgot now where, from Madrid to Lisbon, there came the immigration officers and they asked all four of us in the compartment, what's your nationality? American. You British. You German. And you Filipino. Passport please. Passport please. Ano ang pagkakilala sa atin ng buong mundo? They know all about us. They know all about nung ako'y bago dating sa Roma, akala nila tayong lahat ay nakatira sa Smoky Mountain. Kasi araw at gabi, yun ang nakikita sa Italia, Smoky Mountain. And so I had a very good camera. And I was acting Paris priest here before I went to Rome. So many people from here that I don't see anymore gave me so many things, so many good things. You're all very good to me. I was very young then. And so, but I had a camera ever since I was 16 years old. And so one Italian saw my camera and asked me, where did you get that? And I am a Caviteño, so Bugnutin. Sabi ko, well, I got it from who knows where, but not from your pocket. Bakit? Akala nila, ako'y nagpunta ron. Per mangiare il pane italiano. Solo per mangiare il pane italiano. Hello? So, what is my point here? We all long for unity. We all long to be accepted for who we are. God is a God of wonders. Do you accept Him for that? God is a Savior, but is God really your Savior? Or is ABS, CBN, or GMA your Savior? God is our sanctifier, but really? Really now? Your cell phone is under your pillow. And you pray with your cell phone on. And many of those who attend online masses, they tell me, they're not really attending. When the cell phone gives notifications, they turn it on. And when the adobo cooking in the stove is drying up, they stand up at any time during the Mass. And ang sakit natin ngayon, nasanay na, nahirati na nagsisimba sa harapan ng TV. Kaya hanggang ngayon, kakaunti pa rin na nagsisimba. We all long for deliverance. We all long to be accepted. But you know what? The good news today is God accepts you, warts and all. I'll end with a story to drive home the point. There was this young mother who brought her little daughter in Walmart to do shopping because there was no time to shop. There was no time even to wash clothes, no time to even clean her beloved daughter because the husband was dying of cancer. And the morning before they left for Walmart, the little girl heard them talking, and the father and the mother were talking to each other, and they all concurred in one statement that both of them agreed with each other. And they said, if God allows us to see through your terminal cancer, then we will go through anything and everything. And so when they finished shopping in Walmart with their big bags that they couldn't carry around because it suddenly rained cats and dogs, and everybody was waiting for the rain to stop, the little girl said, Mom, let us go through the rain. And the mother said, no, we will get soaked. That's not what you said this morning. What did I say this morning? I didn't tell you that if we go through the rain, we will never get wet. What you said this morning is if we can get through this cancer, this problem, then we can go through it all. Let us walk through the rain. And the woman in tears said, yes, let us run through the rain. And little did they know that all the people who were waiting by the door heard that little girl said, let us walk through the rain. And they did. And they ran through the rain carrying all their bags. And everybody in Walmart started running through the rain. Why? Because they were believing in relationships. Problems do not count for much anymore. They believed in love. They believed that they were in relationships. And when you believe in relationships, then God is not a vital statistics. When you relate to one who is not a plump 5'2", obese woman or man, things are bound to be different. You're relating to a person whom you love, no matter how dark or ugly, no matter how unclean or whatever. When you relate to God, you have to mirror God's deepest mystery of what? Loving communion. And this is what Trinity is all about. He is about communion. He is about loving. He is about relating. Not isolation, not individualism. Therefore, ang hiwaga ng banal na Santatlo, yan ba'y walang kahulugan sa buhay natin? Tell that to the Marines. If your love is a God of wonders, and you have been touched by a God in His love and mercy and compassion, then welcome. Welcome to the club of believers. Even if it rains, you can go through anything. Run through the rain, yes. Because Father, Son, and Spirit, one God in three divine persons, they all have to do with oneness, with love, with communion, with relationality, with relationships. And what do you give? What return can you make to a God of relationships? You love as God does. You mirror God in your life. Therefore, tama na ang mga marites, tama na ang mga fake news. Magmahalan tayo sapagkat we don't know whether this war in Ukraine will expand. And then, as one soldier said many, many years ago during World War II, in the trenches, there are no unbelievers. Truth always sits on the lips of dying men. What truth are you telling the world? That God doesn't care? That God doesn't love? This is not what we celebrate today. This is not what we will celebrate next week. And on June 24, the solemnity of the body and blood of the Lord, the overall self-giving of the totality of who God is in Himself and who God is for us. This is the mystery worth keeping in our hearts.